Here we have a quorum. This will be our organizational meeting for 2024. And the way it begins and goes is the call to order. And then the first item is the election of officers, which I preside over. And then once the officers are elected, the new chairman will take over and preside over the remaining remains of the meeting. Okay, so we'll call the meeting to order. The first item of action is the election of officers, and I'll ask Sarah Sterling if she would please announce the slate as was decided or presented by the Governors and Nominating Committee.
Get it right. All right. The nominated officers are Jim Calvin as chair, Rick Rector as vice chair, Mike Malinsky as secretary, Tara Gay as treasurer.
Okay. Can we vote on them as a unit? You can. I would be looking for a motion to elect those individuals to those new officer positions.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? The motion is carried.
Dave's leaving.
His car's his car's no parking for it. Right. He got the car running. Exactly. Right. I'll go over here. You're a free man. You get the helicopter ride. Yeah. Out to Andrews and different.
Well, thank you all. On behalf of Rick and Tara and Mike and myself, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for placing your trust in us in order for us to keep moving forward in the direction that Dave and the other officers have set for us. We'll need your continued support and participation. Mike and I have very big shoes to fill. The leadership of Dave Finger and Sarah Sterling these many years has been extraordinary. They've guided us through some very challenging times and very busy times. And they've done a great job, and we thank them for their service to teams. And we'll have an opportunity for the rest of the membership of CEDC to salute Dave and Sarah at our annual meeting, along with who's the third outgoing director, Ruth Adams from Art OMI. She'll be rotating off the board. So thank you.
You're going to get the new car?
Yeah.
I believe so. That'll be parked out back. Yeah, just help yourself.
But we're still working on that with the ABO,
Just wanted to share with you quickly a few of my priorities moving forward. Number one is to ensure the continuity of staff leadership. Mike Tucker is with us under contract until June of 2025. And although we've already started talking with him about possibly extending until the end of 2025, to find someone of Mike's caliber, someone as effective and as talented as he is, going to take a long time. So I would anticipate that we would need to form a search committee as early as the middle of this year. So we need to keep that in mind as we're moving forward, so that there's as long a runway as possible, so we can ensure the continuity of quality staff leadership. Secondly is to sustain the positive relationships that we have cultivated with key partners. The Board of Supervisors, the Hudson Development Corporation, the individual municipal leaders, Empire State Development, the SBA, and many more. Mike and his team have built these relationships. We want to make sure that we maintain them. We can't do what we do by ourselves. We need support, help, assistance from all these agencies and entities, and we need for that to continue. I'd like to try to improve the board experience in a couple of ways gradually as we move forward. First, I think we can shorten the amount of time we spend at board meetings on bureaucratic matters, things we need to do, but things that don't necessarily need to take a lot of time, so that we can make some other time at our meetings so we can have open dialogue on issues of importance that we all may be thinking about, but we never had the time to talk very much about. And also time to learn something about CEDC that we may not really know, even though we ought to. We never had the time to delve into it. So hopefully we can carve out some time at each board meeting moving forward. Unfortunately, not this one, because the agenda is jam-packed, as you can see. But I think it's important that with all the talent and all the different perspectives we have in this room, to hear them and to exchange ideas and thoughts on issues of the day. And fourthly, to increase the private sector investment in CEDC. Thank you for leading the way, setting the pace for our other members by paying your dues. But we're going to need to chase down the renewals that are still out there. And we need to come up with creative ways to drive more membership and generate more investment from the private sector. So those are my hopes and dreams as we move forward, not instead of the strategic plan, but things I want to make sure that we concentrate as we're moving forward in executing the strategic plan. And now, as we prepare to delve into today's busy agenda, I'd like Mike Malinsky to remind us of why we're all here.
All right, thank you. So good morning. Yeah, our statement of purpose, as stated in our bylaws by the CEDC, is operated for the purposes of promoting and providing for additional employment opportunities, encouraging and aiding the expansion of local businesses and the attraction of new businesses, enlarging and diversifying the county's tax base, preserving the unique character of Columbia County and its attractiveness to businesses and employees, otherwise acting in the public interest to strengthen the local economy. A reminder why we're all here and why the CEDC exists.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The consent agenda is new. And if you agree, what we'd like to do is at each meeting to sort of condense and package some of the more mundane reports and charters and other actions that are required by the authority's budget office, so that we can spend as little time on that stuff as possible, so we can concentrate on more meaningful discussion and actions. The idea would be that if any member of the board wishes to separate one of the items listed on the consent agenda, we pull that out and hold a separate conversation and action on that. What do you think of the consent agenda idea? Any objections? Then I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Seconded. Okay. Motion seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Carried. Thank you very much. Committee reports. Sarah Sterling, Governance and Nominating Committee.
All right, I will say one thing about, I approved the consent agenda, but once again, the Governance and Nominating Committee, we've left out a few things. I don't know how this happens several times. The home committee messes up again. But by next month, I'm going to get together with Andy and we'll get those couple of sentences in there we want to change. One of them is that it's the only committee that says only 5 members. Everyone else says 5 or more.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that one's just 5 members, which I think is too restrictive.
So we need to amend it.
And then there's another thing about this transition that isn't clear in our charter as to who does what when. So we'll change those. Now we have a board candidate, and that should be in your package or somewhere. I've seen, you've all seen this resume. Yeah. I can send out.
A lot of pages now.
We have it more.
I'm sorry, I don't know if it did. Anything about it.
We don't have it.
Anyway, we interviewed
We
Rich.
interviewed him, he's,
He owns Johnny Walker Insurance. I explained some of it. I don't remember most of it. He's the owner of Johnny Walker Insurance. He actually started out working there, I believe, and he's worked his way up and now owns it. Quite an impressive background. And he's recommended by Mike Johnson. I was very impressed with him. Quite be a very good fit for the board.
Rich has been at Johnny Walker Insurance, as Dave points out, since 1993. And he did work his way up. He's been president since 2006. He's involved with the Austerlitz Fire Department and the Spencertown Fire Company. He's a line officer and a firefighter. He has been involved with Make-A-Wish, St. Jude's, Fireman's Home, Hudson, Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and Little League. When he met with us, he also indicated to us that he has a number of rental units that he owns and maintains and leases. And certainly not speaking for the committee members who are recommending him, but I found him that he would be a great addition to the board.
He impressed us. Any further discussion? Is there a motion to elect?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Mike, do you want to get a hold of him or do you want me to?
Sure.
Would you?
Mike Hall. Yeah.
And he needs to reach out to Lisa, I believe, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
all right, great. Then we have two committee comments to the Governance and Nominating Committee and Rachel Puckett to Loan Committee.
Is there a motion to approve those appointments?
Some of.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Carried. Thank you. Anything else, Sarah? Anything else from you?
No.
Okay,
That's it,
thank you very much. Audit and Finance, I believe met, but I think anything from that meeting is covered under other agenda items. Same with Executive Committee, right? And the Workforce and Education Committee did not meet. The Loan Committee, Rachel?
First up on our agenda is the portfolio dashboard review.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you.
We have two clients on the list this month. Loan client A, we're going to talk about in greater detail later in the meeting. Loan client B is now 30 days past due on their loan.
So we need approval.
Motion to approve the loan report?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
And next up is, first is a modification to the loan for Hudson Cruises.
Right. This client was granted a deferment until next summer, until they get their boats in the water. But they also have a balloon payment coming due in 2024. And we thought it made sense to rewrite the loan at the same time that we grant the deferment. So what we're requesting is a $34,000 loan with an 84-month term. The 9-month deferral has already been approved, so their payments will begin on July 15th. We're offering them a 3.75% interest rate, and the payment would be $471.21 per month. So once again, this is a refinance. They've been excellent payers.
When was the original loan?
When was it? 10 years ago.
10 years ago?
Yeah, 2014.
And when someone does a new loan or a modification, do they submit financials?
Well, we've been collecting their tax returns, for the past 10 years. Yeah.
I think one of the issues is that, they had been at the dock since they
Up and down.
bought the boat 10 years ago. 2 years or 3 years ago, the city decided that they did not want them at the dock anymore, and they replaced them with the Apollonia. That happened at the beginning of the season. It made it very difficult for them to find another community dock to locate at. They had just gone through the pandemic where people weren't gathering on boats, even though it was outdoors. And, they have been very conscientious loan customers, and they are very optimistic about being able to serve a Hudson River City this coming summer. And the other issue was that the other balloons are coming due in June or July.
June.
And we're back behind Bank and Pursuit, or just Pursuit?
Both.
Bank and Pursuit, so we'd be third in line. And we felt that their relationship with CEDC is independent of how those loans were either rewritten, extended, or collapsed, and whether the asset of the boat was still available for the creditors in that event, that we would be much more secure with their personal guarantees on a long-term basis, because I think the remaining payments to us would be certainly a manageable amount on a personal level. We have no reason to believe they will not be successful in getting a dock for the summer and reviving their business. And these boats have been very popular in various communities. But when you're evaluating credit, you look at what are the options if for whatever reason your prediction of success isn't accurate. And I think we found with a previous loan where we were behind a bank in a restaurant, that basically they said, well, we'll give CEDC, how much was still about $35,000 was outstanding. They said, well, we'll give CEDC $5,000, we'll take the rest. Well, we didn't really have much of a discussion at that time because we were a smaller player and the asset wasn't going to cover it. So we felt that having to negotiate with us while they're trying to resolve with Pursuit and a bank, where we can certainly be supportive. It'll certainly make it take us out of the equation, both in the minds of the bank that is reviewing the extension or renewal, and in the event there's an issue where they have to sell the boat, we have a relationship with them and a personal guarantee.
Over to the river cruises, has the city agreed to give them dock space this summer?
Oh, they're not looking at Hudson, they're looking at other cities. They have some very good, they're waiting for some, it's a public discussion in another city where they would come and get a dock space. Not in the county.
Shame. Was during COVID, that area, you said, were they trying to be somewhat consistent on their loans? Were they?
Yes.
So they were good. So they had a good. Well, that's good. That's a positive.
They're very conscientious. Good. Amongst our most conscientious borrowers and communicating with the market.
Means a lot.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
One quick note on that. When the waterfront was dust bowl, there's nothing down there. They approached, I was working with down the mayor's office, they approached us. And we let them go in there for like $500 a seat, but there was nothing down there. So they were the first people there, and the rest, so they've been around for quite a while.
They're Macasa, are they the Macasa boat or the Marika?
Yeah.
But they were the original ones. We asked them if they would come down because there was nothing down. That's before when it was just dirt.
That's a shame. The city didn't help them out.
Yeah.
Other questions about the Hudson Cruises loan? Committee recommends approval, Rachel?
Yes.
Motion?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, next up is the Four Elements Development.
Thank you. We sent out the confidential full report to the board last week. Four Elements Development is a general contractor. They're based in New Lebanon. The loan request is for $40,000, split between our two loan funds. With a 72-month term, the total monthly payment will be $696.46. The interest rate is 7 3/4. The purpose is equipment purchases and working capital, and the collateral will be a lien on business assets and a personal guarantee of the principal.
Questions, comments?
Did we get a copy of their DD 214?
We did.
Okay.
Anyone else? Committee recommends approval.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Motion, second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I have a question, Mike. What is the DD 214?
A DD 214 is a piece of paper you get after serving in the military that proves your veteran status.
Yeah.
And the list said it was veteran-owned business, so we just wanted to make sure it was on the up and
Thank you.
up.
Anyone opposed to that? Motion's carried.
And last up is the Quinny's loan request.
Good morning, everyone. Quinny's New York, a restaurant located in Clobbery. The request was a $25,000 loan. This would include also the $2,500 grant from the Columbia Forward Program. Term of the loan, 72 months. Monthly payment of $388.29. Interest rate of 3.75, again, part of the Columbia Forward Program. Purpose of the loan, working capital. Collateral being a lien on business assets and a personal guarantee of the principal. This is Quinny's New York, located in Clobbery. Thank you.
Questions, comments?
Is this the only thing they have with us?
Yes.
And you have all, financials and stuff from that?
Correct.
How long have they been in business?
2 years.
Any questions?
Committee recommends approval.
Yes.
Is there a
I'll make
motion? Second?
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion's carried. Mike, it's to you.
Right behind the material in the packet, behind the loan is a chart that Martha and Steve and I worked on. It's what we presented to the Board of Supervisors. And I think it's an updated edition through year end of what we presented to you before. But it does show a 9-year total of over $5 million in loans, 204 loans to businesses during that period. 665 technical assistant clients. We've also received $1.2 million in grants from the SBA for technical assistance. And we have collected over $620,000 in interest over those 9 years from those loans, all of which was put back into the loan fund and not used for operation. So I think when we presented that to the Board of Supervisors, again, because of the administrative type work that goes on at all these meetings, they didn't really have a perspective on what we really do as it relates to entrepreneurship and supporting small businesses. So that was a useful exercise. If we flip the page and go to the balance sheet, our total bank accounts are down by $414,000, primarily because of the purchase of $232,000 of land at Route 9H, and the fact that we have did over $500,000 in loans this year, as opposed to, we did almost $1 million of loans this year, where we had only done 810 the previous year. So we have more money out of the bank account, out as an asset of loan receivable than we have cash. Our total assets are up $463,000. Our fixed assets have gone down pretty slightly because of depreciation. Again, we drew down significant funds from the SBA this year. We put significant over $500,000 or $200,000 more than last year out in loans. And it's always tough to keep up with the loans because as we're putting the money back out on the street, people are paying it back. And on a 5 to 7 year average term of loan, it keeps our loan department very busy. On the liability side, We do have, a high deferred revenue, and we are looking at that, with the auditors, to be sure that we appropriately booked, the county income. And, also it did include, the third quarter SBA, well, it's actually the second quarter because the SBA starts from July to June, but the second quarter, technical assistance payment. So, when we get all the way to the bottom, we have our total liabilities, total assets are up, our total liabilities are up, and our net equity is up by $435,000. And again, we had been working with Mulch out of Rhinebeck, and they contacted us in December. They were assisting us with closing the books on a monthly basis. They decided that they were not going to provide that service anymore to any clients who they weren't doing tax returns and audits for. And I can understand that as this was a very small, $300 to $400 a month account. We have, as UHY cannot do the review of our closing our books. We did engage RBT, which is a firm here in Hudson, purchased by RBT. It was Sickler, Turchia, and they've been very helpful in terms of jumping in to take a look at the 5 or 6 issues that we have that we want to be able to clear, so that UHY doesn't have to make a determination that we had a troubleshoot. So Kat and I are working with them, and it's going to be a very modest fee, and we're attempting to find a firm that was available quickly to help us. And because they do the Hudson IDA and Dick Churchill, if we work with there, we jumped into get that. And we'll have to look at what we're going to do on a longer term, and we'll bring that up to the finance committee as we go forward. On the P&L, we've actually had a very good year, and when you look at it, we did 96% of our budget in revenue. We did have an issue with the administrative revenue not meeting our goal. And that was primarily because the budget included the write-down, before the write-down of the $12,000 between the fee with the IDA and CEDC. And also we had anticipated doing 2 additional projects with the city of Hudson, where IDA, where we would have received $10,000 for each. Those have been pushed out into 2024. And we did reduce that number for the 2024 budget, so that we weren't double counting the ones that got pushed into the next year. The other area where we were up significantly was interest income. When you look at the detailed P&L, we were about $3,000 up on interest income from loans. So Martha and I and Steve were pretty close in budgeting the interest income from the portfolio. But once rates started going up at the beginning of the year, I did work closely with Bank of King County and Key Bank and Community Bank to take us from the 0.005% interest that everyone was getting across the board to where we're getting between 2 and 4%. And that jumped considerably. Our membership reached the budget. Right now, with membership, we're at $26,000, and we have a $50,000 budget. But as Jim said, we're continuing to follow up not only with several of you, but with some of the banks and others that have a longer process to approve membership, to be sure that we don't miss them. And we also generally bring in under that category $12,000 to $15,000 in sponsorships for the annual meeting. So I'm optimistic that, if you take the 25 and the 15 will be at 40, so we have about $10,000 to make up on membership itself. And Riley and I have been working on that to achieve that. When we look at our expenses, our expenses are under budget by 9%, 8%, and primarily in the area of consulting fees, outside consultants, and employee expense. And I guess we do have one issue here because this doesn't appear to have picked up facilities. So Kat and I have to go back and look at that. But we did, based on the approval that you gave us, we did take $25,000 and expensed it, adding it to the allocation for loan loss. We split that 50-50 between the CEDC account and the SBA accounts. And I think this missing 40 is actually the bottom total is where I recall the extended format being. I think it just wasn't picked up, but we will confirm that for you. Our new initiatives, we were cautious and selective. We anticipated that we would have had more expense related to the housing initiative. So we did have some expense there. And also we had approved $15,000 for workforce development activities with the college for the program that they took over from CEDC that we initiated with the challenge with the chamber several years ago. Again, we were also fortunate in, we were up on professional fees and office expense. The office expense has been a continual issue because of, I think we'll be much better this year. It's really not hard because the expenses are pretty fixed. So it's more a budgeting issue for us than it's been, extraordinary expenses that put us over budget. Professional fees were up because in 2023, we hadn't budgeted for the additional accounting fees resulting from having to have a single audit. Again, a budget is to manage from and to end the year looking at where we are. And, we are, in better shape than we had projected. But again, we also used our resources to advance our mission to a point where, we're not creating a lot of working capital from our budget. And I'm pleased where it came out, appreciative to everyone on the staff that helped generate revenue, but also helps control expenses.
Questions or comments about the treasurer's report? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Next item, Mr. Chairman, is you'll recall that you approved that CEDC would assist Columbia County as a fiscal agent in connection with their second annual climate carnival on September 14th of this year. That involves us accepting donations from sponsors who will be able, because we're a 501c3, get a deduction if it wasn't a business expense. And we need to set up a bank account, and our bylaws require that the board approve the creation of bank accounts. So we need a motion to approve, to authorize me to open up a bank account.
Questions? There's a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item is the approval of the 2024 contract between CEDC and Columbia County. It's in the amount of $460,000, which is the base amount that we have received from the county for a number of years. We put this off at our last meeting because the county budget hadn't been finalized, and We felt it might be presumptuous that we were approving our contract thinking that they were there. I had assurances they were there, but it was just basically I felt from optics it was better to put it off. Third, Economic Development Committee, which met a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I guess. They approved it to recommend it based on the county approving the budget to the full Board of Supervisors, who will consider it at their meeting in February. And so it's appropriate to be able to have our board approve it so that we can get it signed in a timely manner once it's approved by the county.
Mark, who runs the Economic Development Committee?
Supervisor Ryan Skoda from Connie. And, there's a pretty good representation from the county. Two of the three new supervisors have joined the committee. Richard Wolf from Copay and Michael Dvorak from Hilltown. So we can provide you with the list of the members of that committee.
Any questions about the contract? We need to act on this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contract with the county?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion's carried.
And as you recall, this is the base contract on an annual basis. We also have a year and a half left on our contract with the county under Columbia Forward with the chamber. And we also have 2 years left on our contract with the county on affordable housing. We do have a receivable that we're carrying from 2022. It's $18,000 for broadband. And we have an agreement that our attempt is to get federal or state monies to reimburse the county for that expense, but if not, they will pay it. On our activity update, I'm happy to proceed if that's okay.
Please go ahead.
On a staff update, everyone is very, very busy. We have had 6 new projects call us since the beginning of the year. Martha has had, and Steve have had an increase in loan inquiries, if not applications. Kat, of course, has been working to help get year-end data so that Lisa can finish the Paris report. Riley's been working with me on membership and a number of marketing issues. And Chris has been very busy. We've not only set up the land bank last year, but we also were able to get the supervisors to agree on very short notice to approve a resolution where CEDC would assist the county, where they are the applicant with the Division of Housing and Community Renewal for what's known as a auxiliary adjoining dwelling unit, $2 million grant. And that's where the state would put up about $100,000 to help a homeowner convert or build a adjoining dwelling unit on their property. And it's designed to encourage them then to rent it to people who are in the 30%, are paying more than 30% of their income in terms of being overburdened with rental housing expense. We were, at the time the supervisors agreed to approve it, we had not yet identified a housing development firm, a not-for-profit that's required as part of this grant. And we've since, with the county's agreement, been working with Rupco out of Ulster County. They provide services in 5 other counties, and they are going to be the housing development partner.
Good.
And, you know, again, we're in a position where we've assisted the county. They have to be the applicant. The work that's required under the grant is not really in our bailiwick. It's going out and identifying 14 people who are qualified and are selected to go forward with this program, oversee the contracting between the homeowner and the various subcontractors to do the work, and then making sure they market and identify the appropriate income level tenant to go in. So, I think, we took direction, at least at a policy level from the board, not to take on responsibilities that are take us beyond the scope of our internal staffing capacity. But Chris has done a great job putting this together. Whether we get a small percentage of the fee to be there on the ground Columbia County interface, which we would do anyway, is still up in the air. But there is $170,000 of administrative fee if this is awarded, and the state is very hot to get this $20 million out, but I think it's starting to become a hot issue for communities to try to take this money. But again, Chris has demonstrated the ability to move quickly, and the supervisors, I feel, gave us a tremendous vote of support by endorsing it basically within 6 or 7 hours of the meeting that they had at the beginning of January, because otherwise the application is due this Friday, and their next meeting wouldn't have been until February 14th. So it was really, I felt very good that they had confidence in our request and moved quickly to endorse it. Jim and I and Martha had an interview with a potential applicant for Jessica's position. I had discussions with 2 other potential candidates. We are going to have a on-site third interview. Martha and I had an interview with this person initially, and then Jim joined us. We're going to have an on-site interview in the next 2 weeks, and hopefully be able to make an offer and have it accepted based on final discussions with the candidate and checking references, and going through the normal negotiations that come in this day and age with hiring. But he's a very strong candidate, has experience in economic development. He's from Maryland, but he would be moving to the region, or he's already moved, or in the process of moving, because of family commitments with elderly parents. So we're optimistic. We do have the ad still out there floating, so it's never too late to apply. But and it's never over until you actually have the person show up on the first day, right? It's not if they say yes, it's whether they show up. Although at a professional level, I don't see that as an issue. Columbia Forward is our partnership between Columbia County Board of Supervisors and the Chamber. We continue to provide economic development guidance and advice to each of the towns, which is CEDC's responsibility under the arrangement. And the Chamber continues to work with individual businesses and some of the business Main Street associations that exist throughout the county in some of the towns and villages. Supervisors feel that it is going well as a project, and because that as that funding comes to an end in 1.5 years, although we saved half a year of the revenue as deferred revenue because the county paid us for the full year, but it only started in July of 2022. But we are working on a USDA grant to replicate the program, and yes, I do need approval, Mr. Chairman, from the board to make that application. It doesn't commit you to accepting the funds if it's awarded, but it's a rural development grant that we had previously applied for with Patterns for Progress. But when we did it with Patterns, their business model is such that they generate money from providing fee for services. And for us to get what we needed for that grant, we asked for way too much, is what we were told, for the size of our county. And so it is a 2-year grant, and basically we're going to replicate what we had proposed initially. And that is to provide economic development, planning, resources, and support to our towns. And that would, if we're successful in getting that grant, it will replace the loss of the funds that that ARPA has provided through the county for the Columbia Forward program. I know it's a little vague of what I'm asking, but it's simply an approval to submit an application. If we get the grant, then we would bring to you approval to sign a contract. And we'd have a much better idea of what they've approved and what we'd be committing to at that time for your consideration. I think it's $75,000 a year for 2 years. And we're working with one of our technical assistant providers that Martha and Steve use, Brian Swag, who worked on the original application. So with Patterns, I think it was $200,000 a year. And, we had decided we were going to apply, and then they called us and said, well, so were we, and they didn't want to be competitive. We would have been better off being competitive because we would have been at a scale that might have wanted. So I would request that you approve a motion to allow me to apply for that grant.
Grant again is called what?
It's the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Development Economic Grant.
Any other questions about it? Motion to authorize CEDC to apply?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion's carried.
On broadband, we are getting down to the last stage of broadband. We submitted the application in partnership with the 4 towns and again, New Lebanon, Canaan, and Austerlitz with the USDA. Austerlitz and New Lebanon again finished the job with their own ARPA money, but they had been original parties to that grant and therefore had to continue to participate with us.
This is the Delgado one.
This is the Delgado money. It's $850,000. And we just got back a few requests from USDA to somebody checked when Consolidated submitted the application on our behalf. They checked the wrong box, so that's got to be corrected. And there was some other signature or certificate that was missing. But again, the work won't start till fall. With the federal monies, the money that we don't expect those monies to flow to the state until the 4th quarter of 24 or the 1st quarter of 2025. If we take the 1,200 plus or minus addresses, take off what the providers have done since we last asked them to update the list. They each do 4 a day or 4 a week. There's 200 a year. We're probably down around 700 addresses. We're having a call, a date from the state because there is a March 1st deadline on what the state submits to the FCC. And we're going to share again with them where we are, what we think are the unserved addresses so that no one's left off the list. We did not take the addresses that are in the USDA grant off the list because that's only an application. If for some reason they don't get funded, I didn't want to be in a situation where someone thought that because we were working on them independently that they might still not have to be included with the federal funding that the state's going to get. State just put out a very large RFP for municipalities to apply to create their own system. And we have looked at that a number of times over the years, and Columbia County with 4 providers, it would be over $50 million for the county to do it. And there are 4 existing providers, and there's no county entity that is competency or the staffing to build it out or administer it or operate it once the system is in place. So we're going to listen in on the details of it, but we don't see the county making that application. Housing, as I mentioned, Chris was successful in getting the land bank approved, not only getting the supervisor's approval to go ahead, but getting state to award one of the last 3 or 4 land grants before the legislature would have to expand the program. And we're moving forward with that. I mentioned the auxiliary dwelling unit project. Housing task force meetings continue, and I believe we have a written report. Was that in this package?
No, I thought we were gonna do that in another meeting.
Yeah, okay. So Chris did provide a written report on his activities to the county, and we can have that available to you again. On workforce and education, with Ruth Adams leaving the board and therefore the chairmanship of that committee, and the continual reevaluation of our role in workforce education. I did speak with Dr. Drummer. She had nominated Chris Nardone, who is now moved from the director of the New York One Stop or Workforce Office of the college, funded by the Labor Department, to become the executive director of the Columbia Green Workforce Investment Board. That's a board of individuals who are appointed by both county board of supervisors chair to participate and represent each of the counties. Jessica Gabriel is still our representative on that board, and Carly thought that Chris would be a great board member. I think what I'm going to propose to the governance committee for their consideration, and then to the full board, that we consider making the Workforce Investment Board Director an ex officio member, so that we are in a situation where we're not taking a seat that we're hoping to attract additional business owners or business leaders to, with another individual whose day job is similar to what we do. I wanted to get that out there so you had some time to think about it. It's an idea.
Would that be a bylaw change?
It would, yes, and that's why it would have to come to the next meeting of the governance committee and then to the full board, so that we could amend the bylaws and have them approved by the membership at our annual meeting.
And he would likely be the chair of our workforce committee.
No, actually, we also want to look at whether or not, I believe, a ex officio member can be a committee chair, but we would like to look at that to ensure that they could be, if the chairman of the board, because Dr. Drummer indicated that she would do that if he would be the co-chair. And I think that we had an interesting meeting on workforce with Empire State Development and Dr. Urchel and her team at CMH. There's a lot of activity with the hospital and the college on various programs and grants. I think workforce is a big issue for business owners. And I think we do have a place at the table. I do agree that there are enough people in the arena whose job it is to manage it. And we should have a supporting role and be a good partner. And I think by continuing to have the workforce committee, that will enable us to still have that role. And with having, if we do end up putting the workforce investment board director and college president as our co-chairs, will be really tied into to what's going on there. And I think it'll be a more interesting committee, and it would meet quarterly rather than every other month. Again, these are going to be recommendations from staff to the governance committee, and then the governance committee will decide whether to bring them to the full board. But rather than, because of the timing needed to make a bylaw change, I didn't want to wait and bring it up the day we're going to vote on our
Annual meeting.
We're continuing to, we have a date. It is the 28th of April, I believe. Just double check that. Obviously, we're gonna rent Kozel's, and bring in a caterer. But we have been looking at some venues, and I don't know if you have any other thoughts about discussing, to discuss about that at this point, or whether it's still.
Well, we have the college, college drummer has been kind enough to host us if we choose that venue. In the meantime, we're exploring other possible venues. Clock Estates on the hill turned out to be not available. We have, Mike and I anyway, and Rick have talked about Basilica as a possible location. If there are, if any of you have opinions about what would be good and what wouldn't be good, you can tell Mike, tell me, speak up now.
Yeah, well, I reached out to the Greenport because I do weddings and stuff there, and I believe they submitted a quote and stuff with caterers, Georgia Ray's and all that.
Lisa, have you received any? No. That's good.
Okay, that was months ago. Like immediately once we realized Coles was sold, I went to the Greenport, so they have the old elementary cafeteria right there. It'd be perfect. So I'll go in my emails, I'll find that, forward it off to you guys.
And on terms of a speaker, in an attempt to entice the Clock Estates to have us, their issue is they don't feel they could handle 120 in the way their facility is laid out, and they would rather wait until another year when they could put a tent up for us. But we had asked John Frischkoff to speak about his experience with CEDC and with the development process in Columbia County. And we have in the past had clients or developers who we had worked with give speakers at our breakfast. And I guess at this point, John is willing, I think, to do it. But if we waited a year until he had his tent, he'd be willing to have us have someone else. So it's kind of open for discussion as to if there is a speaker. We try to stay away from, particularly in an election year, people who are running for office. We have had Hugh Johnson for several years in a row. The one arm, he never met a one-armed economist, because on one hand, the economy is going to do this, and on the other hand, it's going to do that. We have had representatives, high-level representatives from departments in state government, not elected officials, but the head of Empire State Development as an example, that type of speaker. We had a great keynote speaker with Dr. Drummer 2 years in a row, and then with Dr. Urschel last year. And I guess if there are any final suggestions, because we do have to nail it down so we can begin the marketing. And it's April 30th, Tuesday, April 30th.
And would that be in lieu of this board meeting?
Yes. So other than that, Mr. Chairman, unless there are questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. The President CEO contract, is that something that we're going to table for the time being, or?
Yes, well, I told you, it doesn't include our discussion about an extension.
Okay.
So I think I'd have to go through the committee.
Okay.
To thank you.
Very good.
Again, I guess one last thing, the Hudson IDA, it's got 3 projects before it. The Columbia County IDA, which is not in projects, we've just got a application from Labella for their restaurant expansion from Paul Cagno with his housing project. We expect that today. We're working with a group of developers, a developer group who's looking at the Philmont factory building for a event space. And as I said, we have a new project in Germantown, Chatham, the wineries in Taconic. We also have a woman in Germantown who's purchased an old gas station and is looking to get into the EV charging business and use it as a model to franchise. And we're also working again in New Lebanon with the town and the not-for-profit pharmacy out of Phoenicia to
Where is the gas
on
station?
nine.
On 9, yeah.
And
Yeah. Which one?
It's by that little diner there.
Not the one on Maple.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, it's gonna be a cafe, gift shop, and charging station. So, we.
Maple's completely filled.
Yeah.
So we continue to get, and the last thing that came out of our meeting, Jim and I did meet with Chris Jones in her role as chair of HDC. It was a very good meeting. We discussed that there is a developer interested in the Edwards School as well as HDC being interested in it. I did arrange that she was willing, and so was the developer, to meet to see if there's any synergies between their two projects so they're not competitive, where they might strengthen each other's project. And that they've agreed, the developers agreed to do that. But we also talked about creating a team because when we're talking about people looking at the old ShopRite, people looking at Flanders, others who have come into town, they're all excited until they start thinking about where they're going to get a labor force. And I think if we have a team that can put a presentation on to these developers or businesses, that at least we can demonstrate that they're not all on their own if they decided to come here. I mean, the fear of getting the people, the 4 or 5 people around the table who could make that presentation and find out we don't have the data or the strength to make the presentation, at least we'll know that. But I do think we can tell a story as a region, if not a county, that we could, depending on what business they're wanting to bring here, we could assist them. If you look at the One Vapor Avenue, we've had 3 people look at it. We're in regular touch with the realtor from Albany who has the listing. But it's 100,000 plus square feet. You're going to look for, there were 60 or 70 employees there when that place was wound down to close. So where do you get 150 employees if you're going to come in and start something? And the other issue there, I think I mentioned before, is Flanders has 8 years left on their lease, and unless you can get the REIT that owns the building in Chicago to agree to a new lease or a sale, no one's going to invest what you would need to invest to use that building and have to not know in year 2020, 2032 whether they have to pack up and leave or they can renegotiate. So there are a lot of moving parts, but we are engaged in trying to get that back on a functioning asset.
We had included on the agenda an executive session, but I think we can do without one.
Yeah, I think we will continue to include that so that if there's a need, we've been transparent with the public, but it's just good governance unless someone would like to have an executive session.
Good. Just a couple of reminders. When you receive the agendas from Lisa, please email her back to let her know that yes, you're attending, no, you're not, or that you're a maybe. The earlier she finds out what the count is looking like, the more time she has to try and rustle up a quorum if it looks tight. The annual conference of the New York State Economic Development Council is February 13th and 14th in the Albany Capitol Center. Timely educational educational sessions and prominent speakers and great networking. If any board member is interested, please let Mike know. There's a sizable registration fee, but CEDC can help with that.
We can also get you the agenda to see if it's of interest to you.
Looking far ahead, we may need to move our October 28th meeting. One possibility is October 22nd. We'll confirm in the coming weeks, but do me a favor and pencil in October 22nd as a possible alternative date. Public comments. We welcome participation and comments from the public. If there are any community members wishing to speak, this is the time. Don't believe we have anyone from the public on the line.
I have a staff comment because it was all public comment. I just want to thank the board It's been a year, so I'm just now a year into this, a year and a week. The board's been really supportive. The board of supervisors have been supportive. I can never tell if people are saying yes to things because my ideas are good, my arguments are strong, or Mike had the right conversations with the right people. But nobody's really said no yet, and that applies to the board as well. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to bring up?
Mike, did I hear that we have the lowest unemployment in the state?
Yes, again, and, you know, and that has been, we've either been 1, 2, or 3 lowest. And I did include a couple of, I think the biggest thing was Columbia was first as the fastest growing median household income in the state. I think the second homeowners are now starting to get counted into the mix. And also in December, we were at 3.2, up from 3.0. But the state is at 4.4, and we were the lowest of any county. Saratoga was close behind us. The housing market saw an increase in 7% increase in new listings, but a 9% decrease in closed sales. The difficult part is its median sale price was $585,000. It was $240 in 2019. That's a little skewed because last year at this time it was $530, and if you get a month where there's a couple $1 million home sales, it pulls it up because it's a median. Sales tax, we don't have December numbers. Sales tax has been flat. We're one of the only county in the region that as of the end of November, we were only up 1.7%. PJ Keeler and I are looking into what we think is causing that, but we went up 26%, so maybe we've flattened out from 2019.
Oh my God.
But you know, it's significant money to the county. They get half of the funds, and they disperse the bulk of those funds to the city and the towns based on a formula.
Mike, are there press releases about the median household income and unemployment that have been released?
It comes out from the state. You know, sometimes we jostle the Register Star and the Columbia paper to some months they call us, some months we call them, but it's hit and miss sometimes with them.
They'll print it if you send it to them.
I think we should just be making infographics every time we have a brag point and just put it up on the social media. I mean, going through your guys' list of every time we do something, even with the land bank and letting the public know what we do. It's like some people don't even know what a land bank is as of having conversations with friends and stuff. So I think it would be important if the CEDC just constantly, keeps pushing out these little bits of information. Getting the newsletter and seeing that they're this long, you keep scrolling through them, just, I think, piecing that information out little by little over the month instead of just throwing it all out there at once will definitely create long-term traction. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Thanks.
Other comments?
And feed us that information, feed us those comments as you see them, so that, it's in real time for us. Because I think sometimes when you hear it once a month at a board meeting, it's not as, we don't see where we could jump in the pond.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Thank you very much.
Good job, Tim.